Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. I wanted to make a follow-up video to the last one that I posted, and to start, I really want to say thank you to everybody for so many loving and kind comments. The thing was I wasn't really sure if I should actually talk about this again or just move on and make something else. But after this past week and seeing so much response from everybody coming in and some of the things that I was reflecting on and some of the questions that you were asking, I thought maybe it would be wise to at least do one follow-up here and then move on and start making content about other things too. So to begin, I did actually end up taking some more notes, and I just wanted to go through the experience that I had in this past week and some of the reflections that came through. I know I kind of already said that, but here we go. So the first thing was that, in many of the questions, and I think I just want to address this first, although I'm not sure that anybody who made these kinds of comments are actually going to watch this video in full, but some people were saying, and this was the one that really got to me, I just made this video to try and capitalize on the tragedy that took place, and I was making the whole thing up. And I just have to definitively say, no, absolutely not. This was an authentic experience. And even if nobody watched the video, which I was expecting would be the case, most of my videos get like 1,000 views. And comparatively to this last one, which just kind of blew up, that took me by storm. That really was a massive surprise. And yeah, at the same time, the overwhelming response was outstandingly positive. And I'm just really, really grateful that it was well received and that the people who were watching who really took it in could feel the authenticity of the message. Because yeah, I just felt so compelled and guided to share what really happened to me and what I experienced. And yeah, I am very grateful that so many people could feel that. So again, thank you. Some people were asking, did he ever show up again? Was there any more messages that I received? And the thing was, it was actually kind of a sort of, but it was a week later, and the thing was, it did feel different. And I started to think about the dimensions of our bodies of consciousness and also what happens when we die. You see, there's actually a passage in the Upanishads, this ancient book that's profound, and it comes from India thousands and thousands of years ago. And in it, it actually describes that when we die, different parts of our body and our psyche go to different places, that our body itself returns to the soil and returns to the earth, and part of our senses return to the earth, and parts of us then, our higher selves, our higher personality, our soul, go up to the beyond, wherein then we prepare to come back down at a later point, whenever and however that looks and however it is. So what it felt like in this other experience that I had with him was that it wasn't the fullness of him that was showing up like what happened right after he died, but that maybe a part of his mind, a part of his mental energy that was still lingering in the collective, dream time, or the collective astral, that lower part of the astral that I was talking about, maybe that was still available. Because I had this brief moment where it felt like I was touching his mind, and maybe it was just a reflection in the collective consciousness of him and how he would be showing up. So then part of the reason why I was thinking about this, and one thing that came through, was that in some of the comments, apparently there were some other channelers or mediums or psychics who were connecting with Charlie right after he died. And one comment was saying something like, some mediums or channelers said that he said this, and he was really shocked and very angry. And another reflection said that he was saying this, and he was, more upset, or he was surprised, or he was liberated, or whatever it was. I don't remember all the details, but I'll put that here on this page because I'll go and find it after. And it got me thinking and imagining, what if when he passed, there were these different parts of him that were already starting to separate? Now, other people suggested, no, actually, that's just a demonic or a phantom of Charlie that they were connecting with, or maybe I was connecting with. And for me, it really didn't feel that way. It felt real. It felt like it was actually him. And that's all I can say. I can't definitively say one way or another. And as always, I invite everybody to have their own experience and decide for themselves what seems or what feels to be the most true and the highest resonant actualization of reality. This is a collective journey of awakening and the discovery of truth for all of us. And so each of us has to decide. And my message and what I stand for is that each of us decides for ourselves and figures it out, and that we can collectively come to an agreement on things, but we each still have to put that energy forward and make that decision and that call as what feels the most true for each of us. So this was really cool then. As I was taking notes, I was sitting in meditation and I was kind of feeling and maybe sort of talking to this mind of Charlie. His soul had moved on, but there was this something of him lingering in the collective imagination. And I wrote this down and I thought this was such a beautiful thing. And what I got was, but his soul was known to so many, so it would make sense that such a bright light going out in one dimension would bring so much light into the other, and then illuminate our minds and hearts from that place. So I think that when he died, if that makes sense, his light was here in his body, living life and inspiring and moving so many with his courage and with his faith. And so when he left his body and he emerged in the other realm, that light shone through all of us. That impact hit so many of us, and it's created a firestorm of change and awareness here in this world. And so in that then we have this idea that through his memory and through that shift and that tragedy ultimately that took place, that energy can then come alive in all of us, within and through our collective imagination. And this brings me to something that I had received from that image of him, or that mind of him, or however it is that we want to describe it. It's even a little elusive to me. Some people might just say it was a phantom or whatever, but if that's the case, then this was an incredibly kind phantom, and I don't really believe that's the case, because usually, almost always I can tell. I've had a lot of experiences battling demons in the astral. That's just a truth of the experience that I've had in this life so far. Some of it has come through different, like when I went to Rhythmia and I did these ayahuasca ceremonies, or a long time ago if I had like a mushroom ceremony or something like that. But sometimes it just happens, through meditation. And when I'm sitting there and I'll get this like scary phantom energy coming through, and I'll sit down and I'll do some mudras and I'll do some prayers and I'll transform it. And the connection with Charlie was completely different. It didn't feel like some illusion. It didn't feel like some ghost or some evil spirit that was trying to manipulate me. It felt like talking to another real human, at least in some way, in a really meaningful and authentic and valuable, beautiful way. And so one of the things that came through from that mind and that connection was that, and I have to quote here what I wrote, "It is a blessing that so many people are waking up to the atrocities plaguing humanity because of my death." And that I also received, he was happy to see that so many new Charlie Kirks were born, as also so many have said here in this world. That's a comment that comes up quite a lot in response to everything that's taking place. So yeah, at least in some way, and this might be a diffusing energy as the collective body of his consciousness is raising up into a higher world. But maybe some part of him, the mind of him, or his energy is still available through all of us. And maybe this is also true for anybody who dies. But the difference, I think, and why Charlie has been so impactful was because so many people knew about him. Whereas, for every day people are dying, some of old age and some are killed in battle or some of disease or what have you. But for a lot of these people, they are not super well known. There's not a collective awareness about them. But one thing that I find is really amazing is that from the comments of, just so many of the comments on that last video of mine, there were so many people who also said, "I believe you because this happened to me too," with a parent or a loved one or a friend or someone who passed away, and then they had a visitation from them. And that just reaffirmed the experience that this can happen even in smaller ways. Even if someone passes on and they weren't collectively known, that soul can still come and meet people that they know immediately after passing, which is really beautiful. The last thing that I wanted to speak to, and I'll just keep this short and brief, there were some comments of people asking if I could share some more things about what I received from Charlie as far as how his views changed back when that first took place. And the thing is that during that initial conversation, we did start to talk about a couple of different things, but what was different. And then we very quickly, and I know I said this before in the first video, we very quickly came to the conclusion that it was still better not to get into all the details. And part of the reason was because of how that's going to come across just in general for people watching this. The vibe would kind of look like and feel like, wow, Jordan is just, again, using this whole thing to try and reaffirm, either his views or trying to push some kind of agenda or something like that. Ultimately, all of us have to come to a higher understanding on our own. Now, at the same time, I think what I would speak to is that, Charlie described that on the other side, there was this greater universal understanding. And so, for instance, before, if his views were very focused and narrow in the Christian path, which is true, when he emerged on the other side, I think one of the things that was coming across was a more universal approach, not just one religion or one pathway, but seeing how all the different beliefs kind of can fit together and that there's this golden thread through all of them. And there's a higher sense of unity that we all share that binds us together as a people, as a humanity. And that if all of us can reconcile within ourselves the different views and the different ways of thinking, then maybe we can all come a little bit closer to our hearts and come a little bit closer to each other, and we can overcome the dualities that are keeping us separate. So I think with that, I want to bring this video to a close. I'm going to say thank you very much again, everybody, for watching. Moving on from here, I want to start there's a lot of different things that I want to talk about. There's things going on in the world that are really significant and meaningful, and subjects that I want to talk about. And then there's also just fun things or funny things or memes or things that I laugh about that uplift the spirit or just are funny, and maybe even reviews of like movies or video games or things that I'm just interested in personally. So I'm just gonna bounce all over the place. As far as this channel goes and types of content that I make, if you go back and watch my older videos, you can see I've kind of been all over the map a little bit, but it has also been very focused. But also, even though I'm very spiritually minded and I put a lot of effort and intention into different spiritual subjects and collective unity and healing and world peace and all of these things, I also am a human, and I love laughter and spending time with friends, and I do enjoy pop culture and movies and memes and games. And so just tune in if you see my videos pop up on your feed and you want to see what's on my mind. Thank you for tuning in and leaving comments, and I love you so much. Oh, the last thing is, lately I've kind of gotten to this habit where like once a day for like 5 or 10 minutes I'll go on my Instagram and I'll just look at really funny things and I'll put them on my story. And I don't know if this is going to last forever, but if you're interested, you can find me. I don't even remember the tag, probably Jordan David River or something like that. And you can find me on Instagram and just tune in once a day. There's plenty of stuff to laugh at all over the map. Some are ridiculously bad and some are just so wholesome and meaningful and funny. But take a look if you want to see more stuff from me. That's another place to tune in. So thank you. I love you. And I'll see you again soon.